Now, this might be true, but one of the issues that I have with it is there's a couple things. On one hand, if you see your female friends or just women you don't even know, and you're like, why is she with that guy? He's mid or whatever. I actually think women make awful appraisals of men's attractiveness as well as their own attractiveness. And so social pressure is a very big thing. So if you have like huge swaths of women who think, whoa, all these women are settling, you're probably going to like be telling your girlfriends you could do better. And that's going to instill in your girlfriend's head, who's otherwise in a good relationship, who's otherwise in a relationship with somebody in her league, you're going to start putting things in her head. She's going to have things in her own head thinking, I settled for this guy. I'm better looking than this guy. Because if 80% of women appraise themselves higher than they actually are, and you have a far smaller subset of men who have this delusional self-appraisal, then you're going to have women who find themselves feeling contempt, essentially, for their partners because they feel like they've settled, when actually they're in a relationship with somebody who is their equivalent. And also, not to mention, you guys have the benefit of makeup, and you'll judge yourself. Here's how I look with filters. Here's how I look with filters and sorry, I got distracted. Here's how you look with filters and makeup and all this shit. And you think that that's how you actually look. That's not, the way you actually look is how you look without any makeup, just stepped out of the shower. That's how you look. Now, the other thing is, when it comes to this, how do I want to frame this?
Well, I would take this even easier, kind of an easier way to rationalize it for me is I think the opposite. I think it's way more common to see the attractiveness switch. So you think that it's mid men with beautiful women, right?
You see that a lot.
I guess.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite. And the reason I think it's the opposite is because of just how high I hear women rate themselves. So I think if you're, for instance, it's no offense to you either, but if you're rating yourself on par with the most beautiful women on planet Earth, then what fucking guy isn't in comparison going to be mid?
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so if you're looking at every woman as a comparison to yourself and saying all of them are on par with you and that makes them a 10, or if that's, because I would consider that pretty average, right? But if you're considering that to be a 10, then what fucking guy wouldn't be a mid? You know what I mean? But I think it's the other way around. I think I usually see guys who are way out of women's leagues with subpar women. That's how I perceive it. I just think that women's estimation of themselves is way too high.
Another question for the panel. So, how do you think men treat women who they think they are settling for? Do they treat them well, or do they tend to treat them poorly?
Poorly.
Poorly. Yeah, poorly. Yeah.
Poorly.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an answer?
It's so tough because we're talking strictly based on looks, and it's
Sure,
like
yeah.
relationships.
Yeah, there's more
are
to it
so
than
much,
that.
You know,
but
like if you're mid, my consideration. I mean, if we're solely looks, then that's fine.
yeah, we're
but
still
like,
talking about that.
I don't know. I think they treat them similar to how they treat themselves.
Well, I mean, we have a woman here who said her treatment totally changed when she became more physically attractive. She used to weigh more. She now weighs less. The treatment has totally changed. Mm-hmm. And so, taking her anecdotal example here, I would say this equally applies to women. Yeah. Women treat men who they're more attracted to better than they treat men who they're less attracted to.
I think
Now-
that's just
I'm
a
not
subconscious
disagreeing.
thing.
Yeah.
Right. But if as a
even a
woman,
conscious
but let me ask you a question. If you think you're more attractive than you actually are, how are you going to treat the men who are actually in your league? You're going to just outright reject them. You're going to ignore them. Or if you do end up in a relationship with them, you're going to view it as settling. And invariably, you're not going to treat them very well. Not in all instances, of course. I'm not saying all women are inclined to treat people worse off, but it occurs to me that we do tend to treat people differently based on our sense of how attractive they are. If you settle for somebody, you might do less for them. You might not treat them as well.
Sure, that's fair.
I think a lot of it for girls too is like a lot of attractiveness. I know we're talking solely based off looks, but a lot of attractiveness is from personality. I've seen guys that I like know that before I get to know them, I can be like, they're not very cute, they're not that good looking, but once you get to know them and their personality, it can completely change. And I'm notoriously known to go for guys that the rest of my friends don't find very attractive, but that's solely because of their personality and how
How
they
tall
hold
were they?
themselves.
That's all.
Maybe.
Right, though.
Or wait, are you asking or no?
Yeah, so were they still 6'3", but they weren't good looking, but their
No,
personality
not
was
necessarily. I mean,
good? I thought you only dated 6'1" and above.
my height and above, so like, yeah, almost 6'1". Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, height's a big thing, but I think that their personalities are more like the thing that gets them across for me. If a guy's funny and like holds himself with confidence and stuff, it goes
Right.
way further
Are
for me.
all men funny? And what percentage of men do you think are funny? And what percentage of men hold themselves with confidence or have charisma?
Probably a pretty high amount, but I think there's a fine line between confidence and charisma and like ego.
Sure, these are all different things, but
Yeah.
I
And-
would say that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
well, I mean, I was just going to say, I agree that men can make up for deficiencies by having outstanding personality, humor, etc. They can make up for it. I still think some component of physical attractiveness needs to be there,
Yeah.
but yes, sure, if they can. But what if a guy doesn't have those things?
Doesn't have the physical traits.
No, he doesn't have the humor or the charisma or the personality.
It's probably a no go. I find that when people don't hold themselves in confident ways, don't have the charisma, they become less attractive to me.
Okay.
Even if they're like a 10 out of 10, there's just something about them that will always be less attractive to me.
The way you think really matters.
Yeah.
There was a guy that I was talking to. He had an 8-pack, beautiful, but he was a liberal, and I was just like, I can't do it. Just the way that the things that he would say, I just couldn't do it.
You did the right thing.
I'm telling you, he was sexy. His biceps were insane, but he was just stupid.
Not big in
It really does matter. My first boyfriend, he actually was ugly. He was not attractive. People tell him all the time, how the hell were you able to get Kishwan? He says, my personality, and it's true.
Yeah.
He was a conservative.
No, I was like 17.
Oh.
He's in prison now. I didn't really choose the best guy this first time around.
Dodged a bullet.
So I
Yeah,
guess,
there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess going back to my point, so if women tend to have a delusional and inflated sense of self as it comes to their physical attractiveness, they'll rate themselves higher than they actually are. They rate men lower than what those men actually are. I mean, how is this just not a recipe for disaster where women will just be perpetually chasing after men who are out of their league and rejecting the men who are in their league? So, I mean, that's why I think this rating question is important. Frankly, I think most women are trying to date well above what their looks, prospects, and personalities warrant.
I say some women, not all.
I agree.
I
mean,
especially think the issue of women chasing men is rampant right now. I don't know if I entirely see the correlation between it being because they rate themselves more highly and tend to avoid men who you say are in their league. But I definitely think that it's a problem when women demean themselves to the point of chasing a man, whether they recognize they're doing it or not.
Well, I think
Wait.
that the script has slowly been getting flipped with Gen Z. So the idea of egalitarianism, the movement towards we're just interchangeable widgets, which has become socialized in society, it seems to be rejected pretty heavily by a huge subset of Gen Z. A bunch of them embrace it, don't get me wrong, but a larger subset of them say no than you would ever imagine. And so they seem to look at this and go, if you really think we're equal and you really think that you're awesome, and you can pay for the fucking dates and you can fuck off. And that it seems to kind of reverse the script, right? Now the women kind of have to chase them. And it's like, we don't really want to get involved if this is going to be a lot of work and a pain in the ass and this type of thing. And there seems to be a much larger subset of that now than there was definitely for millennials.
Just one point of clarification, Gracie. When I say chasing, I don't mean that they're necessarily like doing the proactive things that men do to get women, although they are. But so when I say chasing, I just mean like the men that they want to be with. So the man could still be taking initiative because men will shoot their shots with women below their league. But the women will view this purely sexual interest and think that this is somehow equating to like long-term romantic interest. And so a really attractive guy might pursue a woman who's less good looking than him. Doesn't mean that she'll ever get commitment or anything like that. That's why women often complain about fuckboys and the like, because there's just a differential there. And you typically, it does happen to men, but you typically don't hear men complaining about, well, I slept with her once and then, I mean, look, there's some women who do this, but I slept with her once, I wanted more, but she didn't. Some women do this, but it's not a common complaint among men. And the differential is, so as a man, if we can sleep with a woman, there's a very high likelihood we can get her in a relationship. It's not clear to me if the reverse is the same. It's not clear to me if a woman, just because you can sleep with a guy, that you can, with certainty, get him into a relationship if that's your goal.
Doesn't that make sense though, based on what you just explained? So like a guy, did I hear this right? So a guy sleeps with a girl, and thinks he could get her in a relationship. Is that what it is? But then it's not the same.
Yeah, like as men, if we can sleep with you, if we want a relationship, there's a pretty good chance we can get that girl in a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's not clear to me if a girl sleeps with a guy that she can, in all instances, get the guy in a relationship.
I think that's fair.
It's true.
Because here's one of the reasons. So in order for us men, in order for us to sleep with a girl, typically, from the girl's perspective, from the woman's perspective, we have to be at least attractive enough to be in a relationship with you. So if you have, and it goes sort of very opposite ways. So for you to sleep with a guy, even if it's casual, you'll typically want the guy to be, like, you'll go out of your way to find like a super attractive guy to do that. Yeah, it's a fly, cool. Whereas when it comes to women, when it comes to men, we'll sleep with a girl who, just on the basis of her looks alone, we just want to have sex, whatever, she'll never get commitment. She'll never get a relationship. We'll still sleep with her. Like, just on the basis of her looks. Like, we'll sleep with her, but based off of her looks, we would never be in a relationship with her. She'll never get commitment. She'll never get a relationship. Does that parse for you? Like,
yeah.
So for example, if a guy's trying to get laid, like he just wants quick sex, he'll lower his standards.
Sure.
Whereas women, if they want to just get sex, they'll actually, typically, they're not going to lower their standards looks-wise. They're going to raise their standards looks-wise. They're going to be like, well, if I just want casual sex, I want it to be the hottest guy I can get it. Whereas for a relationship, they might recognize, well, I can't get that hot guy into a relationship because he just wants sex. So I have to be more realistic when it comes to the physical attractiveness of a long-term partner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fair. But I don't know that again, this isn't going to apply to every woman, but like, I feel like if I wanted sex, I would go for someone who I felt was in my league and or above, you know?
Yeah, so the most beautiful men on planet Earth, right?
For sure.
Tens, right?
Yeah. Well, listen, after discussing, I lowered my number, okay? So don't shit on me.
But I'm just saying, from the perspective of a woman who says, I'm a 10, they say, well, I'm going to go out and get a guy who's in my league. That's every fucking guy who exists, right?
Sure. But I do think after hearing all this discussion, like, I think there is one thing to admitting or saying out loud that you're a 10 and then actually internalizing that and feeling that way. It seems like more women just ask the question, like myself, would say, yeah, I'm a 10, but then realistically in their everyday lives, I don't think they actually...
Neither do we. We think the exact same thing.
Well, no, not
so
that
we're saying the exact same thing, right? Is that, yeah, you're correct that most women will identify themselves at an outrageously high number, 8, 9, 10, something in this category. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that they're being honest. And when you start to reduce why they're not being honest, you start to recognize these kinds of patterns that it has more to do with how I feel, more to do with how I want to present, more to do with that than how they actually think they rate compared to other women.
Right. So then if that's the case, I don't know that everyone would delusionally go after the most attractive guy. Does that make sense?
Right, but that would make our point for us. It'd be saying,
Sure.
So if you weren't going after the most attractive guys, but you're going for whatever was in your league, then this idea that you were a 10 and amongst the most beautiful on planet Earth clearly can't be the case. So that's the point,
Yeah.
right?
No, and I think I got around to the point. Yeah. Disagreeing.
We have a chat here from Giovanni C. Can I have you read it for us? Thank you, Giovanni.
Brian is spitting. A male 10 will sleep with a 3 to 5 for any number of reasons, drunk, bored, etc. But that 3 to 5,
Will then believe they're in the same league just because the 10 bottomed out for them. Okay. So I don't know why it stayed up for such a short period of time. I need to fix that. But
Yeah, so really good-looking guy sleeps with ugly chick. Now ugly chick thinks they can have a relationship with a really good-looking guy.
Yeah.
That's his point.
Because women hold more value over sex than guys do, I would say, generally, or like have
You mean
a more
women? Women?
women, yeah,
Women.
women,
Yes, that's what she said.
It sounds like you're saying woman.
women,
Women.
women. Sorry,
Women. Okay.
women. Yes, because I think
Got it.
they tend to have a more have emotional connection when it comes to sex than guys do.
Okay.
Like chemically in the brain, scientifically that happens too. So
Okay.
yeah.